Hey, welcome to Table Tennis Philosophy. You may notice or have picked up on the banner behind me. You can't really see it now, but it says John's Table Tennis Training. And what this video is about is somewhat the difference in coaching and training. When I chose the name of my coaching business, I had the choice of coming up with coaching in the title, and eventually went to training. It kind of rolled off the tongue a little bit better, but really glad that I did, because what I do is more than coaching. And let me explain the difference. In the United States, it's sometimes very difficult to find group coaching, training partner, places where you can get a lot of training without actually hiring a coach. So what happens a lot of times is that the coach becomes the training partner. Now, does this mean I don't ever do any coaching? No, not at all. In fact, especially with new players, I do a whole lot of coaching. And we've got to get the fundamentals right, and you might fall into that category if you're not sure that your forehand is correct, if you have real questions about technique. There's a million things a coach can answer, help with, and I do that even with players that I've coached 4 or 5 years. I do some coaching with that. But at some point, it becomes less and less about coaching and more about training, and that's where I sort of turn into a training partner. And I do pick the drills normally, or at least work it out with whoever I'm working with as far as what they feel like they need to work out. We come to an agreement on where the focus should be, and then train those things. Had an interesting experience and discussion or email with Larry Hodges, a coach in Maryland, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him and know him and seen him at tournaments. But it started with me going out to the Atlanta International Table Tennis Academy, and I was just going out there to play, and had a great night, really enjoyed it, got to play some different players, but I got also a chance to watch some coaching going on, and one of the things I noticed was there was a whole lot of multi-ball being fed, whether the players were advanced players, and there were some of those, or whether they were beginners. There was a whole lot of multi-ball, a lot of underspin being fed, particularly on that night, to players' backhands, working on their backhand openings. It almost looked like that was all they did. And so I had a question that I wanted to run by Larry anyway, and so I told him about my experience, and he came back with a really good comment about why I probably saw what seemed like a real overload of one particular drill. And what he would, I believe, called it was training, or table tennis training saturation. In other words, if you want to learn something, and made the point of having an opening shot off of underspin is something you're only probably going to get one chance to do, and to do it right in a rally, then you've just got to do it over and over and over. In fact, you might need to do it all night. You might need to do it all, all your entire training session, nothing but that. And you might have to do that for weeks before you really get to where it's just automatic. And it's not something that is automatic for players without a lot of training. And so while I'm sure that coaches, give their input on exactly the right way to do it, once you've got that figured out, you got to do it hundreds, thousands, millions of times. And that fits in with exactly what I do here. Every time somebody comes for a first lesson, I usually tell them I'm going to throw everything in the world at you, but this is give you as much information as I possibly can in the first lesson. But that's completely different from sessions that we're going to have after that. There is some coaching, but there's going to be a lot of time focused on one thing at a time. And sometimes we can work on that one thing at a time for a long period. Now, if you're doing this kind of saturation training, it really does help if you are doing this several times a week as opposed to every Wednesday or once a month or something like that. It's hard to really saturate, to really get that muscle memory right if you don't follow it up constantly. It's easy to feel like you're really doing something well, and if you don't reinforce it, then it's not going to work out. So when you think about improvement, think, do I need a coach? Do I primarily need a coach? I'd say you probably do. Most players can benefit from a different set of eyes looking at their game, maybe even some video of their game. Coaches can do those kinds of things, but quite often you're going to need somebody to train with and to focus on one particular skill until that is just so deeply ingrained that you can do it automatically and never even have to think about it. And some of the more advanced skills, particularly opening off of underspin, is something that you're going to need a lot of repetition in order to get. All right, so think about it. There's coaching, there's training, and there's combinations of those, and we probably, anybody that's playing probably needs a little bit of each of them, and probably, in fact, you probably need a whole lot of both of them, particularly the training part. All right, thanks a lot. See you next time.